The rain poured down mercilessly as General Samantha Sam Ryder stared at the empty space where her luxury SUV had been parked just hours ago. In its place, a weathered tow truck sign mocked her from the curb. Her fingers tightened around the wet envelope clutched in her hand. A nasty violation notice from the Homeowners Association. "Those arrogant bastards," she growled, her piercing gaze scanning the darkened street for any signs of movement. She knew exactly who was behind this petty act of retaliation. It was none other than Clarissa Blackwood, the tyrannical HOA president who had made her life a living hell ever since she moved into this god-forsaken neighborhood. Sam's jaw clenched as she replayed their last confrontation in her mind. Clarissa had demanded that she remove the American flag from her porch, citing some ridiculous HOA regulation about unsightly displays. When Sam refused, the older woman's beady eyes had narrowed dangerously. "You have 24 hours to comply, or will be forced to take drastic measures," Clarissa had warned, her thin lips curling into a malicious smile. Well, Sam thought grimly, looks like the HOA Karen has made her move. But this time, she'd picked the wrong homeowner to mess with. Ignoring the biting cold, Sam marched towards the HOA office, her combat boots splashing through the puddles. The building loomed before her, its austere facade a testament to the HOA's iron grip on the community. She knew that behind those walls, Clarissa and her cronies were likely gloating over their petty victory. Not for long, Sam thought, a dangerous glint in her eyes. Pushing open the door, she was greeted by the startled receptionist, a mousy woman who immediately shrunk back at the sight of the imposing figure before her. "I need to speak to Clarissa Blackwood." "Now," Sam demanded, her voice cutting through the eerie silence like a knife. The receptionist stammered, her fingers fumbling with the phone. "Ms. Blackwood is in a meeting, but I can try to." "This can't wait," Sam interrupted, slamming her fist on the counter. "Tell her it's General Ryder. She'll want to hear what I have to say." The receptionist's eyes widened in recognition, and without further protest, she quickly relayed the message. Within moments, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed through the hallway, and Clarissa Blackwood emerged, her face a mix of surprise and thinly veiled alarm. "General Ryder," she said, forcing a thin smile. "To what do we owe the pleasure?" Sam fixed the HOA president with a cold, unwavering stare. "You know damn well why I'm here, Clarissa. You had my car towed, and I want it back. Now." Clarissa's eyes narrowed, and she clasped her bony hands together. "I'm afraid that's not possible, General. Your vehicle was parked in violation of our clearly stated regulations. We had no choice but to." "Cut the crap," Sam interrupted, her voice dangerously low. "You and I both know this has nothing to do with your precious regulations. This is about you trying to get back at me for refusing to take down my flag." Clarissa's expression darkened, and for a moment, Sam thought she might lash out. But then, the older woman's lips curled into a sly smile. "You're right, General," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "This is about more than just a silly flag. This is about you learning your place in my community. And if you think you can just waltz in here and expect." But Clarissa never finished her sentence, for at that moment, Sam's fist connected with her jaw, sending the HOA president crashing to the floor in a heap. "That's where you're wrong, Clarissa." Sam growled, towering over the stunned woman. "This is my community now." The sound of Clarissa's pained whimper filled the stunned silence of the HOA office as Sam Ryder loomed over her, eyes blazing with unbridled fury. The receptionist cowered behind the counter, her face a mask of abject terror. "You're out of your mind, Ryder." Clarissa spat, clutching her swollen jaw. "Do you have any idea who you're dealing with?" Sam's lips curled into a sardonic smile. "Oh, I know exactly who I'm dealing with, Clarissa. A power-hungry tyrant who thinks she can push around anyone who dares to defy her precious little rules." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a menacing whisper. Well, let me make one thing crystal clear. Asterisk, I don't play by your rules. Asterisk, you had my car towed. And now you're going to give it back. Or else. Clarissa's eyes narrowed, a spark of defiance flaring in their depths. Or else what? You'll assault me again. That'll only land you in jail. Asterisk, General Asterisk. She spat the last word with contempt. Sam straightened, her expression hardening. Don't mistake my restraint for weakness, Clarissa. I've spent decades fighting for this country, and I know how to win battles without throwing a single punch. She reached into her pocket and produced a sleek, black smartphone. You see, I've got friends in high places. Asterisk very asterisk high places. And they're not too fond of HOAs that abuse their power and harass our nation's veterans. Clarissa's face paled, and she visibly swallowed. You wouldn't dare. Try me, Sam challenged, her fingers tapping the screen with practiced ease. One call, and this entire operation will be under a microscope faster than you can say eminent domain. The HOA president's eyes darted around the room, her composure crumbling. All right. I'll have your car returned. Just don't. Good. Sam cut her off, pocketing the phone. And I'd want a full apology, in writing, on my doorstep by tomorrow morning. Failure to comply will result in consequences far worse than a simple towing incident. Clarissa nodded weakly, her shoulders slumped in defeat. Sam turned to leave, but paused at the door, fixing the receptionist with a stern gaze. And you, she said, if I so much as hear a whisper of this little exchange getting out, you'll be joining your boss on the unemployment line. Understood. The receptionist nodded frantically, her eyes wide with terror. As Sam stepped out into the rain-soaked darkness, she couldn't help but feel a twinge of satisfaction. Asterisk nobody asterisk messed with a rider and got away with it. Not even the mighty Homeowners Association. But her triumph was short-lived. She knew Clarissa wouldn't take this defeat lying down. The woman was as ruthless as she was cunning, and Sam had no doubt that she was already plotting her revenge. With a heavy sigh, Sam trudged through the puddles, her mind racing. She needed to be one step ahead of Clarissa, anticipate her every move. This was a game of high-stakes chess, and Sam was determined to come out on top. As she approached her empty driveway, her gaze fell on the discarded violation notice, its bold red letters mocking her. Asterisk. Homeowners Association. Keeping your neighborhood safe and orderly asterisk it read. Sam scoffed, crumpling the paper in her fist. Safe and orderly, my ass, she muttered, unlocking the door to her modest townhouse. More like a den of thieves and bullies. Once inside, Sam poured herself a generous glass of whiskey, sinking into the worn leather armchair by the fireplace. The flickering flames cast an eerie glow over the room, and Sam found herself drawn to the framed photograph on the mantel, a picture of her and her late husband, smiling brightly on their wedding day. Don't worry, John, she whispered, running her fingers over the glass. I'm not going to let those HOA vultures win. Not this time. With renewed determination, Sam downed the last of her drink and set the glass aside. She had a battle to plan, and she was going to need every ounce of her military expertise to come out on top. Asterisk Clarissa Blackwood had no idea what she was up against asterisk. The next morning, Sam Ryder awoke to the sound of a car engine rumbling outside her townhouse. Peering through the window, she spotted her luxury SUV being carefully maneuvered back into its rightful spot on the driveway. A sheepish-looking tow truck driver tipped his cap in her direction before speeding off, leaving Sam with a triumphant grin. She opened the front door to find a crisp, white envelope lying on the welcome mat. Snatching it up, she tore it open and scanned the contents. A formal, handwritten apology from Clarissa Blackwood, complete with a promise to reconsider the HOA's flag regulations. Sam chuckled darkly. Reconsider? My ass. She crumpled the letter and tossed it into the trash, already formulating her next move. Stepping back inside, she made her way to the living room, where a large map of the neighborhood was pinned to the wall. She studied it intently, her fingers tracing the intricate web of streets and cul-de-sacs. This was her battleground, and she needed to know every inch of it. Her gaze settled on the HOA office, a massive, sprawling building at the heart of the community. That was the enemy's stronghold, the source of their power. If she wanted to take down Clarissa and her cronies, that's where she needed to start. Sam's eyes narrowed as a plan began to take shape in her mind. She moved to her desk, rifling through a stack of files until she found what she was looking for: a copy of the neighborhood's covenants and bylaws. Flipping through the dense legalese, she searched for any potential loopholes or weaknesses she could exploit. Hours ticked by as Sam pored over the documents, her brow furrowed in concentration. Just when she was about to give up, a glimmer of hope caught her eye. Buried deep within the bylaws was a clause about the HOA's financial transparency and the residents' right to access the organization's records. A slow, predatory smile spread across Sam's face. Asterisk, gotcha. Asterisk, she murmured, already formulating her next move. Grabbing her phone, she began making a series of calls, her voice low and intense as she discussed her plan with a network of trusted allies: former military colleagues, private investigators, and even a few savvy lawyers. Each one pledged their support, eager to take down the corrupt HOA regime. As the sun began to set, Sam leaned back in her chair, a satisfied sigh escaping her lips. Everything was in place. Now, all she had to do was wait for the perfect moment to strike. The next morning, Sam marched back to the HOA office, her expression calm and composed. Clarissa greeted her with a forced smile, her bruised jaw a stark reminder of their previous encounter. "General Ryder," the HOA president said, her tone dripping with false cordiality. "To what do we owe the pleasure of your visit?" Sam didn't waste any time with pleasantries. "I'm here to exercise my right as a homeowner to inspect the HOA's financial records," she declared, her voice cutting through the tense silence. Clarissa's eyes widened, and she quickly glanced over her shoulder at the receptionist, who shifted uncomfortably. "I'm afraid that's not possible, General. Our records are for internal use only." "Oh, I think you'll find that is asterisk possible," Sam replied, a dangerous glint in her eyes. "According to the bylaws, I have every right to review the HOA's books and ensure that my money is being properly managed." Clarissa's face contorted with barely contained rage. "This is outrageous. You have no grounds to—" "I have every ground," Sam interrupted, her voice low and menacing. "And if you don't comply, I'll be more than happy to take this to the authorities. I'm sure they'd be very interested in looking into the HOA's financial practices." The color drained from Clarissa's face, and she hesitated for a long moment before reluctantly gesturing to the receptionist. "Fetch the ledgers," she snapped. As the documents were hastily retrieved, Sam couldn't help but feel a surge of triumph. Game on, Clarissa. She thought, her eyes narrowing with determination. Let's see what other secrets you're hiding. The heavy ledgers thudded onto the desk, kicking up a small cloud of dust. Sam eyed them warily, her fingers drumming against the polished wood as Clarissa watched her with barely concealed dread. "Well, let's see what we have here," Sam muttered, pulling the first book towards her. She flipped through the pages, her brow furrowing as she scanned the dense rows of figures and entries. Clarissa fidgeted nervously, her gaze darting between Sam and the receptionist, who stood silently in the corner, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Interesting," Sam murmured, her eyes narrowing as she turned the page. "It seems you've been charging the residents a maintenance fee that's significantly higher than the industry standard." Clarissa cleared her throat, her voice quivering slightly. "That fee covers a variety of essential services, General. You should know that running an HOA is an expensive endeavor. Sam fixed her with a withering stare. I'm sure it does, Clarissa. But tell me, where exactly is all that extra money going? The HOA president's lips tightened into a thin line, and she averted her gaze. I don't have that information readily available. If you'd like, I can have our accountant. Save it, Sam interrupted, holding up a hand. I think I've seen enough to know that something's not quite right here. She flipped to another section of the ledger, her eyes scanning the page with laser-like focus. And what's this special assessment I'm seeing? Wasn't that supposed to be a one-time thing to cover the cost of the new landscaping? Clarissa's face flushed, and she shifted uncomfortably. Well, yes, but there were some unforeseen expenses that required us to extend the assessment. Sam raised a skeptical eyebrow. Unforeseen expenses, huh? Like what exactly? The HOA president's mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. The receptionist fidgeted nervously, her gaze fixed on the floor. That's what I thought, Sam said, her voice dripping with disdain. You're skimming from the residents' pockets, Clarissa. Lining your own pockets with their hard-earned money. Clarissa bristled, her eyes narrowing. How dare you insinuate? I'm not insinuating anything, Sam interrupted, her tone cold and unwavering. I'm calling it like I see it. And what I see is a corrupt, power-hungry HOA president who's abusing her position for personal gain. She leaned back in her chair, her fingers steepled under her chin. You know, I could take this little discovery straight to the authorities. I'm sure they'd be very interested in looking into the HOA's finances. Clarissa's face drained of color, and she swallowed hard. You wouldn't dare. Try me, Sam challenged, her eyes glinting with a dangerous light. Unless, of course, you're willing to make this all go away. The HOA president's brow furrowed in confusion. What are you suggesting? Sam's lips curled into a sardonic smile. Simple, really. You're going to resign from your position, effective immediately. And you're going to make sure that every penny of that special assessment is paid back to the residents with interest. Clarissa's eyes widened in horror. You can't be serious. That's outrageous. I want. Oh, I think you will, Sam interrupted, her voice dangerously low. Because if you don't, I'll make sure that every single homeowner in this community knows exactly what kind of corrupt, thieving snake you are. And trust me, they won't be too happy about it. The silence in the room was deafening, save for the faint sound of Clarissa's ragged breathing. Sam watched her impassively, waiting for the woman to crack under the weight of her own guilt and greed. Finally, Clarissa's shoulders slumped in defeat. Fine, she spat, her voice laced with venom. You win, General, I'll do as you've demanded. Sam's lips curled into a triumphant smile. Excellent. I knew you'd see things my way. As Clarissa stormed out of the office, Sam couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. She had won the first round, but she knew that the battle for control of the HOA was far from over. The following week, the entire neighborhood was abuzz with the news of Clarissa Blackwood's sudden resignation from the Homeowners Association. Sam watched the unfolding drama from the comfort of her living room, a satisfied smirk playing on her lips. True to her word, Clarissa had made a public announcement, apologizing for her mishandling of the HOA's finances and promising to repay the residents' special assessment funds, plus interest. The revelation had sent shockwaves through the community, with some homeowners demanding a complete overhaul of the HOA's leadership and policies. Sam, however, knew better than to rest on her laurels. She knew that Clarissa was not the type to go down without a fight, and she was already anticipating the woman's next move. As if on cue, her phone began to ring, the caller ID displaying an unfamiliar number. Furrowing her brow, Sam answered the call. General Ryder speaking. Ah, General, so good of you to answer. A silky voice purred on the other end of the line. "This is Cordelia Weston, the new president of the Homeowners Association." Sam's eyes narrowed. "Weston, huh? I wasn't aware the HOA had elected a new president so quickly." "Well, you see, General," Cordelia continued, her tone dripping with false sweetness, "the residents were quite eager to move on from the Blackwood debacle. And they felt that I was the perfect candidate to restore order and integrity to our beloved community." Sam scoffed. "Forgive me if I don't exactly trust the residents' judgment, considering the kind of corruption that was happening under Clarissa's watch." "Oh, but you can trust me, General," Cordelia purred. "I'm a woman of the utmost integrity, and I have no tolerance for the kind of underhanded tactics that Clarissa employed. In fact, I've made it my personal mission to root out any and all corruption within the HOA." Sam's grip on the phone tightened. "Is that so? Well, I'm listening." "Excellent," Cordelia replied, her voice oozing with satisfaction. "You see, General, I've been reviewing the HOA's records, and I must say, I'm quite concerned about some irregularities that I've uncovered." Sam's heart raced, her mind already racing to anticipate Cordelia's next move. "Irregularities, you say?" she asked, keeping her tone carefully neutral. "Yes, indeed," Cordelia continued. "It seems that certain individuals have been accessing the HOA's financial records without proper authorization. Now, I'm sure it was all just a misunderstanding, but you can understand my desire to maintain the integrity of our organization." Sam's blood ran cold. "Are you suggesting that have done something wrong?" "Not at all, General," Cordelia replied, her voice dripping with false sincerity. "I'm simply trying to get to the bottom of this matter for the good of the community, and I was hoping that, as a respected member of our neighborhood, you might be willing to assist me in this endeavor." Sam's jaw clenched, her mind racing. She knew exactly what Cordelia was doing. She was trying to turn the tables, to paint her as the villain in this twisted game of power. "I'm afraid I can't help you, Cordelia," she said, her voice firm and unwavering. "If you have concerns about the HOA's financial practices, I suggest you take them up with the relevant authorities." Cordelia stuck, her tone laced with disappointment. "Such a shame, General. I was hoping we could work together to restore the HOA's good name. But if you insist on being uncooperative then I suppose I'll have no choice but to take this matter to the board." "Go ahead," Sam challenged, her eyes narrowing. "I have nothing to hide." "We'll see about that, General," Cordelia purred, her voice dripping with menace. "We'll see about that." As the line went dead, Sam felt a shiver run down her spine. She knew that Cordelia was a formidable opponent, and she couldn't afford to let her guard down for a moment. This war was just getting started. The air in the HOA boardroom was thick with tension as Cordelia Weston stepped up to the podium, her impeccably manicured fingers gripping the edges of the wooden lectern. Sam Ryder sat in the front row, her posture rigid, her eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Esteemed members of the Homeowners Association," Cordelia began, her voice smooth and confident, "I have called you all here today to address a matter of the utmost importance." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled residents, some of whom fidgeted uncomfortably in their seats. "It has come to my attention that there have been several irregularities in the HOA's financial records," Cordelia continued, her tone grave. "Irregularities that I believe warrant a full and thorough investigation." Sam's jaw clenched, and she could feel the eyes of the other homeowners turning towards her. Cordelia's ploy was transparent, but she knew better than to interrupt. "Now, I understand that some of you may be concerned about the implications of such an investigation," Cordelia said, her lips curving into a sympathetic smile. But I want to assure you all that my only goal is to ensure the integrity and transparency of our beloved Homeowners Association. She paused, her gaze locking with Sam's. And to that end, I have decided to call upon the expertise of a very special guest, our very own General Samantha Ryder. The murmurs that swept through the room were like the rustling of autumn leaves, and Sam felt a familiar sense of unease settle in the pit of her stomach. She had known that Cordelia would try to turn the tables on her, but she hadn't anticipated this. General Ryder has graciously agreed to assist in this investigation, Cordelia continued, her eyes gleaming with triumph. Her military experience and dedication to duty make her the perfect candidate to help us get to the bottom of these irregularities. Sam rose to her feet, her expression taut. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, Cordelia. I never agreed to assist with any investigation. Cordelia's eyebrows arched in feigned surprise. Oh, I'm quite certain you did, General. In fact, I have the recording to prove it. She gestured to one of the HOA staff, who quickly set up a small audio player. The room fell silent as Cordelia's silky voice filled the air, followed by Sam's gruff response. Sam's blood boiled as she listened, her hands clenching into fists at her sides. Cordelia had carefully edited the recording, omitting the context and twisting her words to suit her own agenda. This is a blatant misrepresentation of the facts, Sam growled, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. I never agreed to participate in any investigation, and I certainly won't be used as a pawn in your little power play, Cordelia. Cordelia's lips curved into a condescending smile. Well, that's certainly a shame, General. But I'm afraid the HOA board has already voted, and we've decided that your expertise is essential to this investigation. She raised a hand, silencing the murmurs of protest from the other homeowners. I'm sure you all understand that we must leave no stone unturned in our quest for transparency and accountability. And who better to lead this charge than one of our own esteemed community members? Sam's eyes narrowed, her mind racing as she searched for a way to extricate herself from this trap. She knew that if she refused, Cordelia would use it as further evidence of her supposed wrongdoing. But if she agreed, she'd be playing right into the HOA president's hands. Asterisk damned if she did, damned if she didn't asterisk. With a deep breath, Sam stepped forward, her gaze sweeping across the assembled homeowners. Very well, she said, her voice laced with resignation. I'll assist with your investigation, Cordelia. The triumphant grin that spread across the HOA president's face was enough to make Sam's skin crawl. Asterisk. This was far from over asterisk. The air in Sam's townhouse was thick with the scent of freshly brewed coffee as she pored over the stack of financial documents spread out on her dining table. Her brow was furrowed in concentration, her fingers tapping against the polished wood as she scrutinized every line item. She knew that Cordelia and her cronies were watching her every move, waiting for her to slip up. The HOA president had made it clear that she was under the microscope, and any misstep could be used as ammunition against her. But Sam Ryder was no stranger to high-stakes battles. She had faced down enemy combatants in far more treacherous environments, and she was determined to emerge victorious in this war of secrets and subterfuge. A soft knock at the door interrupted her train of thought, and she glanced up to see her old friend, Colonel Michael Jacobson, standing on her doorstep. Thought you could use some backup, he said, his eyes twinkling with a mischievous glint. Sam couldn't help but crack a smile as she ushered him inside. You read my mind, Mike. I'm gonna need all the help I can get if I'm gonna take down this corrupt HOA regime. Jacobson made his way to the dining table, his gaze sweeping over the scattered documents. So, what have you found so far? Sam sighed, running a hand through her short, graying hair. Nothing concrete yet, but there's definitely something rotten going on in the HOA's books. Cordelia's had her people cooking the books, and they're doing a damn good job of covering their tracks. Jacobson nodded, his expression grim. Sounds like we're up against a seasoned team of crooks. But don't worry, Sam. We'll get to the bottom of this. I've already got my best people digging into the HOA's records, and I've called in a few favors with some high-ranking officials. Sam's eyes widened, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. You think we can get the authorities involved? If there's evidence of corruption and financial impropriety, you bet your ass we can, Jacobson replied, his voice laced with confidence. And trust me, when the feds come knocking, Cordelia and her little cabal are gonna wish they'd never tangled with a writer. Sam felt a surge of gratitude towards her old friend, and she reached across the table to give his hand a firm squeeze. Thanks, Mike. I couldn't do this without you. Jacobson grinned, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Hey, what are old war buddies for? Now, let's get to work. The sooner we can expose these crooks, the sooner you can get back to enjoying your retirement. For the next several hours, the two seasoned officers pored over the financial records, piecing together a complex web of illegal transactions, lavish expenses, and secret offshore accounts. Sam's jaw tightened with each new revelation, her determination fueling her relentless pursuit of the truth. As the sun began to set, Jacobson leaned back in his chair, a triumphant smile spreading across his face. Well, I'll be damned. Looks like we've got them dead to rights. Sam's eyes widened, and she leaned forward eagerly. What did you find? Embezzlement, fraud, tax evasion, the works, Jacobson replied, his voice dripping with satisfaction. These HOA bastards have been lining their pockets for years, and they've been covering their tracks with military-grade precision. He reached into his pocket and produced a flash drive, handing it to Sam. Here's all the evidence we need to bring these crooks down. I've already got the feds on standby, ready to swoop in and put the whole rotten lot of them behind bars. Sam felt a surge of elation, her heart pounding in her chest. Cordelia won't know what hit her, she murmured, a predatory smile spreading across her face. As she slipped the flash drive into her pocket, a thought suddenly occurred to her. What about the other homeowners? Will they be affected by all this? Jacobson shook his head, his expression reassuring. Don't worry, Sam. We've made sure to protect the innocent residents. Once the dust settles, they'll get every penny of their money back, plus damages. Cordelia and her cronies are the ones who'll be footing the bill. Sam nodded, her resolve hardening. Then let's do this. It's time to take out the trash. The streets of the once quiet suburban community were abuzz with activity as a swarm of federal agents descended upon the Homeowners Association headquarters. Sirens blared and cameras flashed as the news media jockeyed for the best vantage point, eager to capture the dramatic downfall of Cordelia Weston and her corrupt cabal. Sam Ryder stood at the edge of the commotion, her arms crossed over her chest as she watched the unfolding spectacle. Beside her, Colonel Jacobson stood tall, a satisfied smirk playing on his lips. Looks like the cavalry has arrived, he murmured, his gaze fixed on the chaotic scene before them. Sam nodded, her expression grim. About damn time. That snake Cordelia thought she could outsmart me, but she had no idea who she was dealing with. Jacobson chuckled, nudging her playfully. You know, for a minute there, I thought you were gonna let her get the upper hand. But I should have known better than to doubt a rider. Sam cracked a wry smile. Doubt me at your own peril. Mike, this is my community now, and I'll be damned if I let anyone take it from me. As the federal agents escorted a handcuffed Cordelia from the building, the former HOA president's face was a mask of rage and humiliation. Sam watched her with a sense of triumph, knowing that all of the woman's carefully constructed schemes had crumbled around her. Moments later, the residents of the community began to emerge from their homes, drawn by the commotion. Their faces were a mix of confusion, curiosity, and, in some cases, relief. Sam took a deep breath and stepped forward, clearing her throat to get their attention. Attention, everyone. As you can see, the Homeowners Association has been taken over by a corrupt cabal of thieves and liars. But I'm here to tell you that the nightmare is finally over. The crowd erupted in murmurs and scattered applause, and Sam raised a hand to quiet them. Thanks to the hard work of my fellow military veterans and the diligence of the federal authorities, we've uncovered a web of financial impropriety, embezzlement, and fraud that's been going on for years under the HOA's watch. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled homeowners. But the good news is that every penny that was stolen from you is going to be returned with interest. And the HOA will be completely overhauled with new leadership and a renewed commitment to transparency and accountability. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Sam felt a sense of satisfaction wash over her. She had won the battle, but she knew that the war for the soul of the community was far from over. As the federal agents began to depart, Sam turned to Jacobson, her expression serious. "This is just the first step, Mike. We need to make sure that the new HOA leadership is truly committed to serving the interests of the homeowners, not their own pockets." Jacobson nodded, his brow furrowing. "I hear you, Sam. I've already got my people vetting a few candidates who might be a good fit for the job. We'll make sure this place is run the way it should be from now on." Sam felt a surge of relief, knowing that she had the full support of her old friend and his network of allies. With their help, she was confident that the community could be reclaimed from the clutches of the corrupt HOA regime. As the crowd began to disperse, Sam caught sight of a familiar face in the distance, Clarissa Blackwood, her once proud demeanor now reduced to a hunched, defeated posture. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and Sam couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity for the former HOA president. "It's over, Clarissa," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "You lost." Clarissa's gaze hardened, and she turned away, slipping into the crowd. Sam watched her go, knowing that the battle scars of this war would linger long after the dust had settled. But for now, she was content in the knowledge that justice had been served, and that her beloved community was finally free from the tyranny of the Homeowners Association. Asterisk, the general had won the day asterisk.